Professor. Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. Anyway, fellas, it's me, the Professor. I wanted to tell you guys, first of all, that you should not use gear of any kind whatsoever until you get to a certain age, and then you should go on TRT. If you're old as fuck and you lose all your gains and all that stuff, then you should definitely be on something else. Game changer. You'll feel like dog shit. Even if you're a dude that's like over like 30 years old and you got a pulse, you got low testosterone, no question about it. And let me tell you that while I was in the military, my testosterone levels were super high. They had to have been super high because I trained every single day. I ate like a gorilla because all the dudes in the military were jacked. I was not in special ops, but I was support of special ops. So I worked with all the rock stars of the first Gulf War invasion. So I was able to see how big these dudes were and how amazing they looked and how cool they were. So I wanted to be cool too. I mean, everybody wants to feel accepted. And one of those, rites of passages that we have is to decide, when we're young, if we want to be in shape or not. And I'm grateful at 51 that I did have a coach that, was a cool guy, you know, and he wanted to see us succeed, especially the football players, people like that. He wanted to see them, really do good, succeed, and become just as big as possible. We had a dude from Norway or something that was Jesus. He was so jacked and so big. Those are those dudes that show up to like bodybuilding show and they show up like late and they look like somebody who doesn't even work out. They're so big though, and they do this little magic trick from the time they weigh in till the time they go on stage, and they're like, "Is that the same fucking guy?" So anyway, there's all those tricks and shit. But what I wanted to tell you guys all about was every single relationship that ended from me consuming veterinary trenbolone sandwiches. And if you guys don't know what that is, okay, a veterinary trenbolone sandwich is a hormone made for cows, made for steer. No, it's made for cows. It's not made for, and it's made for these cows. And somebody got this brilliant idea that somebody should crush them up and make them into injectable stuff for bodybuilders, seeing as it didn't have any supposed side effects. And there were people in the 90s in France that had a version of this medicine, and it was 75 point or 76.5 milligrams, and those guys would take one a week, and they would just, because they were on everything back then. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, steroids were legal. You guys may not know this, but steroids back in the 90s, up until, what was it, 94 or something, steroids were legal. Like there were certain steroids that you could go and just buy it. Now it's a controlled substance because they don't want a bunch of masculine men running around. But that's besides the point. There's also really bad health ramifications for messing with anything veterinary. Now, I'm not saying that veterinary standards are different than human standards because it's the same machinery. It just happens to be for veterinary medicine. And it is controlled, clean rooms, all that stuff is exactly the same. So let's get that shit out the way. It isn't that. It is the actual compound itself. That's something like a injectable devil. Like the devil comes into your mind and your fucking voice and your whole personality. And it's the only anabolic steroid that all people who have told me that they've taken it and had these reactions have all had similar stories. These are guys that have probably been doing cycles for 10 or 20 years and they're cool as shit. They're goofy, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was super goofy because he was on D-ball. Well, D-ball creates all this like for a person who's depressed and they suddenly get a spike in testosterone, they get a sudden boost in just self-esteem and personality and all the stuff that is naturally within all of us, but we lose it after a certain age. So going on TRT is the base of reversing that aging problem. That's it right there. You at 19 years old, you probably had an 800, score, and now you're what 50. Let's just say you're 40, and you live in the U.S. and you eat all that poisoned food and gay water. You probably have very low testosterone because you eat all that shit food. So to reverse it, you immediately stop eating processed foods and go get a body index scan. Get your whole body scanned. Most nutritionists will have this machine. It'll tell you how much muscle's in one arm, how much fat is in like your upper torso, your stomach, your legs, and it'll help you determine what you really need to focus on if you're overweight. Most of the time, if somebody's overweight, it's because of insulin resistance. Almost every single time. So, how do you reverse insulin resistance? Maybe it's metabolic syndrome. Okay. Now, some of you guys are veterans and you know that the VA gives medicine to people for mental health issues. And some of these medicines have side effects that will eventually cause weight gain. And then you'll have a worse problem with metabolic syndrome. So I always tell people that people who think they should get their blood tested, go get some labs done, absolutely get some berberine. Learn about berberine, which by the way, it's called the Christmas tree fruit because it grows, it's a little plant and the whole tree is short and it looks like a little Christmas tree with lights on it. So it's one of those things. Now I'm not trying to be boring about this, but this is like a such a chaotic drug that God forbid if I wasn't sober, the things I probably would have said, the things I probably would have done. Okay, first of all, let me tell you first of all is that trenbolone sandwiches cause normal guys who normally would take all different kinds of gear their whole life, do 20 cycles, whatever, and never have a problem with anybody. But the minute they do that and they have a trenbolone sandwich, they suddenly are no longer nice to people. They're always looking for a fucking fight. I mean, we're talking about living in a small town and like looking at somebody like sideways and shit. Then you'd be like, no fucking way. It is the number one relationship killer. I do not care what anybody says. You could be the most cool guy, the most respectful guy, the most like whatever, and there's something in trenbolone sandwiches that causes deep like suspicious behavior. Like you are suspicious of everybody. Not to the level of paranoia where it becomes like delusional schizophrenia, but I will tell you something, guys, that if you have a hot girlfriend, prepare to lose her. Like, prepare to just write that one off, because the delusional thinking that this drug does for men that have the slightest, even like inkling of a question about their girl's fidelity ever, or if they have some memory trapped in their fucking head, they will go to that memory. They will go to that really dark spot, and they will look for a reason to argue without the person being present. So they're always in an argument in their head. Like, anybody who touches this stuff knows it is so toxic. Literally the word toxic, like someone would say, well, they had a toxic ex-girlfriend or a toxic ex-boyfriend. This is literally what toxic behavior is, and how this drug is the only one that causes it. Like, of all the like serious anabolics, of all of them, okay? Now, I'm not even joking when I say that at one point I was a human garbage can, and if it was a steroid that someone said this would do this for you, and I was just, you know what I mean, I'm line stepping, I'm crossing all these stupid lines I said I would never do. Oh, I'll never do Anadrol, I'll never do um whatever the hell that shit was. But anyway, it's just the insanity of like an alcoholic knowing full well they cannot drink ever successfully ever again, because every time they get drunk, they stay out too late, they spend all their money, they get in a fight, sometimes they get robbed, sometimes they mess around with some girl and she's got a boyfriend. So there's all these factors that when you have a trenbolone sandwich, all bets are off. Because one of the side effects of trenbolone sandwiches is hyper sexual appetite. To the point where if you got a girlfriend, holy shit, you better tell her in advance, look, I'm going to be feeling a certain kind of way. So I'm going to let you know in advance that I'm going to be hot to trot most of the time. And if they know that in advance, God bless them, because not only will your sexual relationship be enhanced greatly, because you will be so passionate, you will be so animalistic, you will make sounds you never made before with your voice, because that's what this stuff is. It is a hormone for animals, and if you take it and you have sex, you will become a beast. This is why it's veterinarian. You literally are taking a veterinary drug that is not made for it's not even made for male steers. It's made for female steers, female cows. And people take this because, listen, they give these are implants, by the way. The implant for this cow, when they implant these cows, it's with a gun that has these little pellets in it, and they stick it right behind their ear, and they just shoot it in their skin. And over the next month, what happens is these pellets will release this trenbolone sandwich into these cows, which, by the way, are females. And the reason why they're females is because they give them the males kill each other. So that's why you do not give trenbolone sandwiches to male steers, male, bulls. Do not give them, because they will kill other males. They will kill them all. That's why when I heard that, I'm just thinking alcoholically. Like, shit, man, that sounds like trouble. I probably don't want to take that. And then you realize this stuff does what? It'll put 100 pounds of muscle on a cow in a month. It causes male cows to want to kill other male cows. So who the hell knows what's going on inside the mind of these cows that have a large dose injected as implants into their skin, which it also has an estradiol implant in there too, because that's part of the chemistry. And I have yet to even tell you. I'm just getting into the psychological works of why this stuff is so bad and why it can affect you in bad ways. But at the same time, it gives you benefits that you can't believe. All right. I had girlfriends that were so impressed by how my physique looked, they were willing to put up with the attitude I had because they wanted to be with a hot fucking guy. And the guy's got money, and I drive a nice car, and I live in a big old house. And everybody knows me, and I sing, and I fucking play guitar and stuff, and I'm a firefighter. So she really was into me for that reason, because I showed all those masculine traits that a chick wants. Like that was like the pinnacle. One of my buddies in the gym called me the epitome. And he had no idea that I'm having like trenbolone sandwiches and I'm getting bigger every day and getting more shredded. I'm girls that are now looking at me and coming up to me and talking to me. And I'm used to being like the guy in the gym that doesn't want to talk to girls because I know how they are, and I put their video cameras on everybody and try to embarrass people. So I'm just like, no cameras. I don't want cameras on me. I don't take cameras to the gym. I'm not going to be that guy. Period. Trenbolone changes that entirely. You will be taking selfies. You'll be putting up fucking tripods, looking at yourself in a mirror because you look so incredibly good and you look so shredded and so dry and you're so strong. And you're like, oh, that sounds perfect. Plus, you have sex like a fucking beast. And you know what I mean? You go absolutely balls to the wall on this stuff. You get so big in such a little bit amount of time, but the consequences are real. And I'm going to tell you what they do is they sneak up on you. Because at first, you are just like, you're the best guy at the job, period. Period. I don't give a shit what job you do. If you're a bricklayer, you'll be the best bricklayer there ever was. If you are a carpenter, you'll be working circles around everybody at work. If you're a guy working in an office and you're looking at maps and you're looking at drawings or you're looking at something that's like requires you to have hyper focus, this stuff gives you superpowers that in a little bit of time gives you like this hyper problem solving brain out of nowhere. And like I said, these are veterinary hormones that people like myself were gullible enough to take back in the day when people said you should do this because there's no side effects. Well, I'm thinking no side effects like it's not going to give me gyno. That's great. I'm not going to have like my hair fall out. That's great. My dick still works. Excellent. So what's the problem? What's the downside? Well, they don't tell you what the downside is because no one knew how messed up this stuff would break your brain. Because these hormones work like this. If you're a nice person and you like to tell jokes, this stuff will make you 10 times or 20 times more jokier. Like you'll tell jokes like all day, goofing around. You'll become an absolute stand up comedian and you'll have confidence like you never had in your life. And the downside of that is that a person who is a very, fast talker, a joker, a person like that, when they're naturally that way and they're 10 to 20 times more joking and stuff like that, it becomes very easy to insult people that you normally would never insult. Like people that are bigger than you, maybe you have a racist bone in you, you would actually use the N word. You know what I'm saying? Because you have no fear, you have no couth, you have no filters. So you follow what I'm saying, guys, is that this drug will amplify the person that you really are times 10, times 20. The downside is it'll make you insane as far as like your relationships goes. Okay, so I always went out with hot bikini, competitors, Venezuelan girls, Colombian girls. I'm in Mexico now, so I got a Mexican girl, and it's great because these girls are not American girls that'll fight back, like like tell you you can't do something. Like Latin girls down here, if you're a big buff dude, you're a papi. Okay, there's no reason in hell why a big dude with muscles should be following a girl down here because they follow you. You're their life. You breathe. They live and breathe you when they love you like that, and they definitely do love you like that. So these girls have never been around like American guys, European guys, ever in their life. They never talked to one before because they don't speak English. And they're so beautiful and so relatively innocent because they've not been exposed to Western culture, to Western propaganda, TV, or news. So while everybody else is brainwashed and like in paranoid state and fear like a oncoming dictatorship, the people of South America don't care, and they don't foresee anything bad happening to the U.S. So they're more than happy to open their doors and say, "Look, Americanos, if you want to come down here to visit, we have a very good program for you, for medical, for dental, very cheap housing, and every girl is going to be nice to you." So you'd be like, "Well, where the hell do I sign up?" Then you jump on trenbolone sandwiches. You'll soon find out that your body changes and morphs fucking so fast, and your body gets so good looking that Latinas have two speeds, just so you guys know. They don't get mad as if they fucking explode. And see, when you get mad at them, they may be very passive, like secretly explosive, but passive. So you might say shit to them and be like, stop talking. Or go, why are you not doing something? You told me you were going to do something, and you get on them about stuff because that's how trenbolone sandwiches affect your voice. Because you're intolerant of everything. You're absolutely intolerant of everybody and everything. God forbid someone is walking on a sidewalk in front of you that's walking too slow. You'll get so angry. You're like, yeah, get out of the way. But when it comes to relationships, I'm going to tell you something, guys. I only dated bikini girls and models and stuff like that. So I always knew they were hypergamous. They're always looking for a guy who's better than you, richer than you, buffer than you, whatever. That's hypergamy. And I dated Miss Puerto Rico, and she actually came right out and told me that the whole "it's not you, it's me" like breakup line. And I'm like, what the hell you mean by that? What do you mean it's not you, it's me? I'm like, I could tell this girl lost respect for me. And this ties in, guys, so don't lose faith here. But she wanted to go see Mana. That's the most famous band, like in the rock Spanish rock world. That's like one of the most famous bands in the world. And it just so happens that I met the guitar player from Mana. They were in Puerto Rico. I was going to get tickets to go see the show, get VIP, no cost. It was only like $250 for everything total, but no like crazy expense because I knew the guitar player. And she said, "No, I can't go." I go, "What do you mean you can't go? I haven't even told you what the date was yet." No, I just know I'm going to be busy that night. And then I realized at that point that this was like beating a dead horse and that nothing you could possibly say to this person is ever going to change because when a girl loses respect for you, it's gone, man. It's like dropping your keys into a river of lava. Drop your keys to a river of flowing lava, they're gone, man. So go with that. Just remember that shit. There's also a story about a dog who's next to the railroad tracks. And the train goes by and cuts off the dog's tail. And then the dog whips around and then it takes the dog's head off. And the moral of that story is don't lose your head over a piece of tail. And this stuff will make you lose your head over everything, which is why I tell you guys no matter important, it is like a drug fiend or an alcoholic that knows that if they do one hit or they take one drink, that it's going to be fucking off to the races for them. So they don't take that first hit, they don't take that first drink. But gear users or abusers will say, I know that trenbolone sandwiches will ruin my relationship. It will ruin my job if you work with somebody because all you will feel is pissed off at people and you'll say something that will just ruin anything that you're doing because you become so mean, so hyper focused, so intolerant that eventually you start getting on everybody. That is how this stuff works. The only way that people have told me they've been able to use this stuff successfully is to live in a box. Meaning like Jay Cutler. Okay, Jay Cutler was doing something like some crazy amount of Anadrol and trenbolone sandwiches at the same time when he was getting ready for the 19 whatever Mr. Olympia. But he was such a dickhead to his wife, to his housekeeper, to his kids, to everybody around him that he just told them, look, when I'm going to do this cycle and I'm getting ready for the Mr. Olympia, I cannot have you around me at all because I don't want to get mad at you. Well, why would you get mad at me? Well, that's what this stuff does. Then don't take it. Well, the grand prize is $800,000. And she's like, and how long do you think I have to be away for? So you see what I'm saying? They're willing to take the risk of their husband's health because they know that if they win first place in the Olympia, that they're going to be close to being millionaires. So it's not a risk to her whatsoever. However, what the fuck evil shit that we say and do on cell phones when we send messages to each other. This is where you will learn to gauge your limitations and your abilities to silence or filter your words. Because when you're talking to people, you say shit that is awful. You tell people they're stupid. You tell people they're useless. Like somebody in Home Depot is like helping me with bolts. And I'm like, what is your first fucking day? You don't even know what a bolt is? You don't know what a nut is? Nuts and bolts. And that is what would come out of me. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck was that? That stuff just made me like snap on a guy that's in Home Depot that's here to help me find bolts and nuts. All right. I went and competed. I don't know how I was in Las Vegas for whatever reason. I do not know why. We're renting a car to go to some tournament somewhere. My buddy, his father passed away, and he was a poker player who was a high stakes poker player. So I'm going with him, and he has to rent a car. And the rental car place is telling us, no, we can't give you that car. I was like, well, why can't we rent that car? And then he was like, well, this is, you guys, you didn't have a reservation. And I'm like, well, why the fuck can't we get a car? And now I'm losing it. My buddy has no idea that I got this fucking venom going through my blood, that he knows I'm not the same dude that I used to be. Like, he is not used to me. You know what I mean? I was very much like hippie like before, and it was like, I don't know. I just like to help people and stuff like that, and I like to do good programs and for kids and stuff like that. So he tended to look at me like, oh, he's like a little wimpy guy. Then he sees me and I'm, 235 pounds. I'm jacked as fuck, and I just competed in Mr. Olympia, and I got a trophy and a medal to go with it. And he's like, fuck, man. Well, that's the thing, is that I am not the person that I was when I was in high school, for example. So that by default, if someone thinks of you as the person that you used to be and they haven't seen you for a while, they'd better be prepared mentally to hear you talking completely different. Now, I realize that sometimes I am super robotic. I know that I'm robotic, and I am, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be mechanical. All I do is tell stories. This is storytelling, is what I do. But I have ruined every single relationship I have ever been in because of trenbolone sandwiches. Every single relationship that was good for me. There was nothing to be afraid of. There was no worries about cheating. There was like perfect house situation, like the most beautiful neighborhood, two beautiful dogs. Good situation because I'm getting ready for the Mr. Olympia, and I have the most gorgeous, nice, beautiful Colombian girl who was from Choco, and she was a federal judge. So she was a big deal. And how I got her was just plain dumb luck, I guess. But I ended up being with her, and she knew what I did. I explained to her. I was like, "Look, I'm a bodybuilder that's trying to go pro, and going pro means that you're going to be taking tons and tons and tons of bodybuilding drugs, supplements, eating excessive amounts of food every single day. You got to go to the gym, amongst other things. You're going to be living like in a box." And the girl was so sweet, like I couldn't imagine myself ever being mad at her, because Colombian girls are really nice and sweet. So she was so sweet and down to earth that I was like, just like this wild animal. And I'm sitting there thinking, she's got all these fans, right? She's got a lot of people who really look up to her. Hey, doctora, which, by the way, doctora in Colombia means somebody who has a license that is of importance. So you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a judge, and you would be considered a doctor in Colombia. So, and a professor would be a doctor too, even though you might not even be a PhD. So there's that in Colombia. Um, the poor girl, all right, she never lied to me. She always went to church, like during the week. She went to Bible study and stuff. So I was good with that. I was working on a pen testing program for child abduction. Like, we were working on a program that if a child was abducted, we would figure out where their GPS location was from a distance, be able to somehow turn it on and the camera and send out like a beacon to for law enforcement to locate the child. So all of this, all of this, all at the same time, and I'm using this program, which, by the way, I put it on my own phone. I give it to my girlfriend. She flies to Choco, which, by the way, is like an hour flight from Medellin. So she flies there, and I'm starting to notice that at night she is fucking leaving, and going somewhere. So I'm like, where the fuck is this bitch going? So I just let it ride, not thinking much of it. So I'm like, okay, well, she's got to have some explanation because it's 11 o'clock at night in Choco. There is nobody in their fucking right mind outside right now, not unless you want to get dead. Because just like Iraq, you don't go outside at night. You know what I'm saying? You'll be fucking dead man. So anyway, so I let this thing ride. Now remember something, guys. Trenbolone sandwiches will tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt that this person is cheating on you. It will automatically default to the worst possible scenario. That is where trenbolone sandwiches will take you, is to a level of paranoia that you've never known before. And I eat at a lot of nice restaurants. Listen, guys, I'm not a like I dress shabby in the daytime. I live in a very small farm town here, so I dress a certain way because I don't need to look rich. Okay, but you see, I do live in a mansion, so it's not a mystery. It is a mansion, and it's on 155 hectares of land, and it's owned by one family, and there are 7 mansions all the way down the street. Now the catch is that there are mosquitoes here like a motherfucker, and we have moats around the farms. Obviously, those are for water collection, and it stinks like shit some nights, and it smells like pesticides some nights, and it smells like fucking you know fertilizer some nights. They turn the water on, it sounds like a hurricane is going on outside. So there's some downsides to living on a big old fucking farm, and a downsides to living on a ranch. If you are eating trenbolone sandwiches, every single thing I just described to you will annoy you. It will annoy you so bad that sounds like excessive sounds or things go bump in the night, your heart will start racing. You'll get anxiety about shit. Things will bother you that never would have bothered you before. Like never. All right. I got to tell you, I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and I'm going up to Santa Elena, going up to see my friend Juan del Bosque. And I am jacked. He hadn't seen me in months. He hadn't seen me in months. I live on the other side of Medellin. So I go up there and he looks at me. He's like, wow, look at you. And the thing about me is that when I was living up there with him in the cabins, he has a program, it's called Columbia Homestays. And um, so you guys know, coming off of this stuff is miserable because you feel so good and so powerful and so smart and so whatever. And then it goes away and all of your confidence goes away and then you lose all your gains. You look softer. Like you might be on trenbolone sandwiches and you eat pizza every night and you're waking up with a 6 pack. And you're thinking that after you go off that shit, that you're going to be able to still eat garbage and you're just going to get fat because this stuff would just melt. It would peel you, like peel anything I ate. If it was nutritious, Jesus Christ, I look good. If for whatever reason it was like, let's just say hypothetical hamburger and french fries, the next morning I would look even better. And I was like, what the hell is this shit? Hamburger, french fries, a big old Coke. Actually, don't remember what it was, but a soft drink of some kind. A soft drink, me. Eat a giant 1,500 calorie garbage meal from Burger King or some shit. And the next morning, no joke, guys, my shoulders are huge. I got veins all through my arms. I look like I got the maps of America fucking highways on me. And to my astonishment, I mean, just to my astonishment, just living up there in hippie land, up in the mountains of Medellin in the Andes for 3 months in that cold ass weather, and just getting off of everything, like getting off of everything. And that attitude that I said this stuff causes still very much lingers. Like, not just for like the time you're on it, but like after you go off of it, like the attitude that you have practiced snapping at people, like snapping at people, like telling, snapping at people. By the way, I have a cold right now. One of the things that reminded me and why I wanted to do this video is because Clow is, you know, having an operation right now. So she has to go. The Rockera is going to go have an operation, and it's not anything serious, but it's like the point of how much abuse will we give ourselves? Like, human beings are very resilient, right? But there are things that they don't tell you about certain drugs, certain medicines, stuff like that. And what I'm trying to get to is that trenbolone sandwiches change your DNA. It changes you like as a person. It changes your personality. It changes the way you think. It changes your body. It metamorphosizes your whole body. If you got small shoulders and small chest, a month on this stuff at a reasonably decent dose, hard training and eating a lot of food, you look like you could compete in under a month. It's like that, seriously. If you already worked out and look good, you would take this stuff and you would literally look like my trophies. Remember my trophies from the competition last weekend? So that is the drug addict in me, though. That is the alcoholic mentality in me. My vested interest in looking the best, feeling the best when I no longer am doing the things that I told you that I felt was important before, is to have, a nice car, a nice big house. The only reason why we have this enormous house is because the family let us have this house. And we pay for it, obviously. But that's not why we got this house. We got this house is because we wanted to start trying to learn aquaponics. Aquaponics is where you have fish and you have plants, like a hydroponic plant. So we wanted to be able to grow our own food like we were doing in Puebla, but we wanted to do it in towers, and we wanted to run that through a fish pond. So we have a swimming pool in the back that might be ideal for having fish in. If not, we'll just use, tanks or whatever. But the point is that, like, what a tremboloni sandwich can do to a person who just has, like, maybe you have a list of goals. Maybe you're one of these people that likes to write lists, which is smart of you. And you're a business person. You say, you know what? I have these 10 things that I would like to accomplish so that I could get on a plane and fly down to Colombia or fly down to Mexico, see the professor, or fly to Panama and maybe, see what I could do. Maybe learn Spanish and meet some nice girls. Maybe find a new place to live, something like that. But I got this long list of things that I got to do before I'm going to do that, because one thing is that most guys forget is you got to get your money right. All right. And I didn't get here overnight. I'm telling you guys that I stayed up night after night after night, learning to code, learning to program, learning to write my own script for my own websites, which I would link to my Amazon site. and to eBay and to whatever, possible thing that I could do. And that's when we were doing when I was doing supplements. Okay, this is during the HCG craze when it was still legal. And so I was in Puerto Rico, and this company set up a website for me, handled all my inventory, and did all that stuff because I was still waiting on money from the VA. I was still like, still in pending mode. So you cannot survive on that money, man. I'm telling you guys, if you got out and you got like less than 50%, you can't survive on that in the States. So I was planning to get my money right. I said, I'm going to get my money right and pay off my child support, which I was in the hole, a lot of fucking money. But let me tell you guys something. When I got that retro, I paid that shit off. I had renewed my passport, and it was in my hands in under a month. I'm looking at this fucking big ass envelope from wherever the hell it was. It was like brand new passport. I was in tears, guys. That's how serious I was about getting the fuck out of there. Now, mind you, I was in Puerto Rico, so it's not a big deal to, think, oh, like I'm living overseas. You're not living overseas, but yet you are. I seriously hope that any of you guys that wants to move overseas consider really, really think twice before you go and use gear overseas. Not TRT, not the basic TRT stuff. No, I am talking about full blown cycles where you're doing nuts amounts of gear because you're trying to compete, trying to win a plastic trophy. All right. So you're going to run into problems like I did. I had, like I said, nothing but just premium hide ass girls every single time. Every single time. There wasn't a single time wherever I had a girlfriend was like medium or whatever the hell that's called. Mid. Not once. Not one time can I ever say that any girl I ever picked, every single girl I've ever had has been stupidly gorgeous. My daughter even says, and it's so hilarious too, because she always sees like, your wife has the most perfect butt. I was like, thank you. And I worked on that butt. I mean, I was like taking her to the gym, 7 a.m. We're doing cardio at 7 a.m. Right after doing cardio, we're doing growth, both of us. Then going to have steak and eggs immediately after the gym. And then living the life of Riley. That is the charmed life that all of us truly, whatever you feel like you deserve and you want to be with, and that's what you want to do. Then you can say, hey, you know what? My plan is that I want to do drone school or some shit. And you say, oh, I want to do this. You're going to go and do it. If you are on a trenbologny sandwich, not only will you open up a business, you'll start a website, you'll have a, a vertical integration. All right. So all of it will be on you. All of it will be up to you. All the benefit will be for you because that's where this shit takes your mentality. It's such a love hate relationship because a drug addict knows if the lighter goes click, then in less than 24 hours, some terrible things might occur. What I wanted to say about the cold, like congestion in your chest. When you do trenbolone sandwiches, there is a reaction that takes place. If you inject yourself with this stuff, it causes a cough so bad. They call it tren cough. I call it kennel cough. It makes you literally for almost a whole minute, you feel like you are about to pass out because for whatever reason, This stuff causes an inflammatory response in the lungs and causes the shittiest cough you could ever dream of. It is a profound, hurting, painful, deep cough, almost like somebody who's a smoker, like early in the morning, like gets up and just coughs a lung up. That's how nasty this stuff is. Now, if you want to know what it looks like, my buddy who was making this stuff, he was doing a brewery type of thing somewhere. Um, he was like becoming a internet guru. He was a guru of gear and a pretty famous one at that for a little while because he had a very I knew who he was and everyone's like, dude, you know that guy? Well, he talked about this and that, and yeah, and I mean I heard of him. So internet guru, and he gave me a bottle of this stuff. It was like in a 100 ml bottle, and it was about a third of the way full, and it looked like it had like rust, like a ball of rust floating in the bottle, not floating, but sitting on the bottom of this vial of golden oxidized oil. Now, who the hell knows what kind of oil it was? But it was a new thing, and it was called trenbolone. It is an implant, and at the time they were making these in India. This is before they became commercialized, and you could buy them on eBay. So these implants were being made in India. So my friend was ordering them on like Alibaba or some shit, and he would get them in the mail, and then he would follow instructions off of some internet forum. Because before the internet, the before social media and things like that, there were these forums, and they were all about gear. So like this whole subculture of drug talk and anti-estrogen talk and like competition talk, but most of the time it was really just about like what not to do and to always have X, Y, and Z in order. And if you this is the back in the day, guys, so this is a different world. Back in those days, if you were speaking or writing on any bodybuilding forum that regards to anything about gear. This is prior to censorship. This is prior to all that. Is that these people who take the stuff that I'm talking about will be on these forums and they will flame on you like a flamethrower. Like, hey guys, yeah, I'm gonna be competing and blah blah blah. And then you might say, like, okay, so here's a picture of me. I'm 12 weeks out and I'm holding water because I'm still on whatever, whatever, whatever. And so, what the knee jerk reaction to these people on these forums is abuse. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. Why the hell are you taking tremboloni sandwiches 8 weeks before a competition? You should be taking it 4 weeks out. You know what I'm saying? And you look like dog shit. You look like a bag of water. You know, you're a fucking moron. You're never gonna fucking you're not even close. You're like 52 weeks out. You're not 7 weeks out. You're 52 weeks out. You're not 12 weeks out. So it would be this like bashing of these new bodybuilders that just go to these forums to look for information. So my boy was one of these people, and he had a website was called Base Killer, and so he was very open and honest about all the stuff because he was a chemical engineer and he showed step-by-step instructions on how to like remove the active ingredient from said implant and then make it into a solution and then have this giant bottle of fucking tremboloni sandwiches. Guys, I was taking it I think three times a week, and almost overnight I put on 30 pounds of muscle, which we know that you don't keep it. But it was only using this stuff. So, because I was not familiar with how to use gear correctly, I didn't know anything about taking a test base. I did not know about like mixing like different ones together. I thought if you just took one, you would get this result. Okay, if you want to get real big, you got to take Anadrol. And so I would take Anadrol and then I'd get really big. Okay, now I need to look really shredded. So we're going to take Winstrol now. So I'd switch to Winstrol and I'd get really shredded. So I was like, oh, okay. So this is like multiple choice. You pick your character on the video game, for example. Okay, so you want to be the warrior. You just use this, this, and this. You want to be the female warrior. You're going to use Anavar and Primo Bolan, and this is going to be your diet. So you get these superpowers, and if you eat good, it enhances that superpower by a million. It makes it so easy just to get lean because, like I said, guys, trenbolone sandwiches like suck the fat off of your body and consumes it because it's a monster. Remember, a fire breathing fucking dragon. When you take trenbolone sandwiches, you are putting yourself at risk. You're putting your whole career at risk. You're putting your relationships at risk. And I'm serious, guys, when it gets to a point, now I'm talking about the later stages where it gets into like deep seated, like paranoia or a fear of something. And it is real. All right. It'll make you see the future. The anxiety levels will hit you so hard, you'll like, I don't ever want to touch this stuff ever again. Then you'll wake up the next morning and you'll be like, how did I? That is the reaction. And that's why I always say that this is more like when drug addicts or alcoholics struggle with like knowing that if they drink, that their life's going to go to shit in no time. Or the drug addict that knows if I know that if I was to, hit that pipe and the lighter goes click, it's just a matter of time before I'm in trouble all over again. So it's better that I don't do any of that shit. And so with trenbolone sandwiches, the danger isn't the physical part. It isn't the anything to do with the physical because you're talking to a guy that abused this shit for years. And I'm not dead yet. So, but the point is it was such a toxic drug that like a toxic girlfriend who has big boobs, you're gonna like, oh man, she was the best in bed. She's ringing my phone again. So you hit that because that's what we do because we're men and we're stupid sometimes. Knowing full well that girl held you hostage for 2 years, it was only supposed to be a one night stand. So just like these one night stands, you think you're just gonna use a trembolone sandwich once and you're going to all of a sudden have all these benefits like superpowers, mental superpowers, superhuman abilities, just organize your business life. I mean every single positive thing in the world that you could get from something like this and it benefits you like that. And yet these side effects are so fucking horrible that it negates any positive that might have come through. It just cancels out any positives, period, with exception of the way that you look. And even that is debatable. You do look great, no question about it. You look bigger, you look fantastic in a short period of time. But the repercussions of the things that you will say to people because all you think of is rage. And all you think of is just like somebody doing something that's annoying you, that you need to go beat them up. You need to feel the need to go beat them up. So that is why I'm saying that this is a veterinary drug that has not been tested on humans. Not realistically, not the real thing. No, this has not been tested on humans. But what it has done is given me a pattern to look at, and that is people like Flex Wheeler. What happened to him? Right now, he's lost a leg, and he just anything to do with kidneys. All right, all these people who have passed away from kidneys, all of them were serious trenbolone sandwich eaters. So all of us, every single one of us had some kind of like embolism feeling. I mean, after you go off the stuff, you're like, you can't believe, you were so rude to people. But then you're so stupid that you'll pick it up again. There was a guy who used to come to AA meetings every day, and his name was Speedy. And he would say something like, hey, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, I don't have to pick up today, no matter what. And that kind of helped me along, being a young alcoholic, because I didn't want to drink. And I knew if I did, I'd get kicked out of the place I was at. So it was court ordered too for being an asshole drunk. So anyway, guys, I am passing the fuck out. So wanted to say good night to you. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button. All of you guys have been great tonight, especially ones that you understand what I'm talking about. It's like we don't want to hurt your feelings, girls. We do not want to say what we were about to say to you, but we're gonna say it anyway. That's right, because we are men and we are stupid and we make dumb mistakes all the time. Anyway, I am the professor, man. Y'all, you made my day. Look at all them likes. I appreciate it. And I'm out.